All right, we're speaking with Judas Priest guitarist Richie Faulkner about their concert coming to Tucson. I believe this is the second time I'm going to see Priest in Tucson in the last decade or so. They played Casino del Sol's Alva Amphitheater. This time going to be over at the Tucson Arena on November 8th. It's going to be the 50 Heavy Metal Years Tour along with your good buddies Queensryche. Richie, welcome. Are you on tour right now, or where are you at this point for anybody who might be watching this video for the first time?
Well, Larry, thanks for having me. It's good to see you. It's good to be coming to Tucson. We came to Phoenix, I think, earlier on in the year. So It's great to be coming to another part of, Arizona. We're not on tour at the moment. We're actually on a break at the moment. We just came back from Europe a few weeks ago, where it was almost as hot as it is where you are. I think it was like, 110, 105 in some places.
Wow. In Europe. And you don't think
in
of
Europe,
that there.
Yeah. And in Europe, a lot of places don't have air conditioning, which, a lot of buildings are old and they're not kind of kitted out for that, really. Some of the new places do, obviously. But, so we're on a bit of a break at the moment. We're all back home. We leave, I think the first date of the US run is on the 13th of October. So we've got a few weeks left. So we hit you guys a few weeks into the run, and we're stoked, man. We're looking forward to it, and it's a Priest on the road in the States again. How more exciting could it be?
I've seen Judas Priest so many times over the years, but first of all, before we get into the meat and potatoes of this interview about the tour, hey, congratulations. I know a year ago you had a life-changing, life-altering event. You look fantastic, Richie. So obviously the doctors did a great job fixing you up. How do you feel?
I feel great, it was just over a year ago. It's one of those things, life happens, one of those things. And I'm fortunate enough to be here now. I've had a fantastic, amazing support system right from the word go. When something like that happens, it's critical that the sequence of events that happen in the minutes that follow, the way they happen, make or break whether you live or die, quite frankly. And then the support system from then, I was very, very lucky. Some of the decisions that were made literally on the flick of a coin, some of them, and just some of the way the planets were aligned at that time literally saved my life. I mean, we won't go into it, it's a long story, but the more you go into it, the more fascinating it becomes, just how the game of chance, how life happens sometimes. It's swung in my favor. And since then, the surgeons, the doctors, the nurses, the support system, my family, everyone since then has enabled me to be talking here with you now. So I'm very fortunate. Just the nature of what happened. Some people don't even make it to the hospital. Some people go down right there and then. And
you were on stage.
It happened on stage. I carried on playing. I carried on, fortunately, one of those things, it was the last song. We usually play for 1 hour and 40. As it turned out, Metallica were playing after us that night. So we only had an hour set that night, and it turned out it was the last song of the set. So it was one of those things where if Metallica weren't playing, if it was a headline gig for us, we would have played 1 hour 40, and I would have stayed on the stage and no doubt carried on, and that would have been it. So it was one of those moments in life where it makes you reflect, and you just think, it could have been different. It wasn't, fortunately, and it just makes you look at life a bit differently after that in a positive way.
From what I understand, and I don't know much about it, from what I've read, a lot of it, for the people who don't know what happened to you, you had an aortic dissection literally on stage. And if I remember correctly, this is the same thing that happened to actor John Ritter. I might be wrong, but unfortunately he did not make it. And so I'm so glad to see you here, and you're back on stage and doing this tour. And you've been, looks like it's been taking you all over the world, because obviously the tour had started, the 50 Heavy Metal Years tour, and you had to postpone everything until this year. And then I know you played in Phoenix, and now you're coming to Tucson November 8th. How's it been like to get back on? Here's been the question for the last year. So guys, I know you haven't been touring for the last year because of COVID, or the last 3 years, but Richie, this is definitely a different question for you. How's it like to be back on stage after such a life-altering, life-changing, mind-blowing event like that?
Well, initially it was great to have something. I mean, my life is the guitar. Music is part of my life, and along with other things, family, my daughter, stuff
Hmm.
like that. Music is part of my life, so it was great to get back to the guitar as soon as I could. It was great to get back to that part of my life, playing live, playing with Priest, that sort of thing. So it was great to have something to shoot for, like those dates earlier on in the year.
Hmm.
And I had 5 or 6 months in order to prepare for that. So I had those dates in the calendar, so I could, you had something to aim for. You had a target, and that kind of keeps you focused and strong and moving forward in that direction. So it was very important to kind of have that target. And when you reach that target, it's very fulfilling. It's like you've made it, you're back. And also, obviously there's things to contend with. There's heart rate and blood pressure and stuff like that, that when you're on stage, you've got to be careful of that, obviously. But
Yeah.
you check in with surgeons and doctors, and you make sure you're safe and everything, obviously. But it's part of your life, and it's part of who you are, and it's very important. So but it's almost therapeutic. It's cathartic, and I was told initially, if I was walking along the street and it happened, I might have dropped down there where I was. But because we were playing, the adrenaline was high.
Okay.
It probably kept me going long enough in order to get into the ambulance, to get to the hospital, to keep going long enough to get the care that I needed. So essentially, that adrenaline from the
Hmm.
music we were playing initially saved my life, in a way. So, heavy metal saved me life, really.
That's awesome.
you know,
So obviously you're younger than the rest of the guys in the band. You've been in the group since, am I correct, since 2011?
that's correct. Yes.
So what's it like being with a band that I'm pretty sure, I might be assuming a lot, probably one of your favorite bands growing up. Now you're part of the band playing these songs you grew up listening to on the 50 Heavy Metal Years tour. What's it like? And obviously you've recorded a bunch of music with them as well. You gave them one of their first #1 album, I think. You were on that album a few years ago in 2018. Everything seems like it was only 2 years ago, but it was a few years ago in 2018. Um, how's that feel to be on stage playing these songs?
It's an incredible education from day one, right from the day when I met Glenn and Rob, and I was being considered for the position. They were telling me what they wanted, and they were asking me what I wanted. Right from the word go. And I thought that was a very interesting thing. So I was trying to work out why they would ask me that, because they wanted a band member. They wanted someone who was going to give, something to the band and be loyal to the band and be proud of the band, not just someone that was going to take a paycheck and do the job.
Mm-hmm.
So and it's been an education since that moment. What to do, how they do it. And since I can take something from every moment when I meet them or when we do something together. It's what I can always take something from it.
Mm-hmm.
Being that much younger than them, they've done it all before. They've been through the trials and tribulations of what it takes. They invented what we know as heavy metal today,
Mm-hmm.
when there was no heavy metal. So they've gone through all the experimentation and the pitfalls and all that sort of stuff, and got to where they've got to today with the support of the fans for 50 years.
Yeah.
So they know what to do. And they've done it on instinct and by making mistakes, and the success comes from making all that sort of stuff, and you can't fail to take that in and learn from them. They're masters, and they're great friends too. So if you've got any questions or opinions, they're asked for and taken on board and listened to, and it's just a great thing. So hopefully then you can take that forward. You can, when one day Priest retired, it's one of the things that has always been made clear to me. When I joined, it wouldn't last forever. I knew that, we know that, but hopefully that's part of the legacy from Priest that I can take forward into the future, and pay that forward, that mentality, that way of doing things. But it's great. It's great fun playing the songs as a fan. You can imagine it's just incredible. when we come to the States on this second run, we like to do things a bit differently than the first run. You know, it's a different different set list. We want to do, you know, people go out, they work hard, they earn their money. It's, you know, it's a valuable ticket. You know, we know that people spend their money on, you know, this ticket or that concert or that show, and we're very proud of the fact that people come to our shows, and we want to put on a different show, you know, different experience. So what songs can we dig out of the vaults and give off a dusting? And I'm like, let's do that one, you know, let's do that one. We haven't done that one for a while. So you can imagine it's exciting for a Priest fan like myself. Let's do Genocide, or let's do Screaming for Vengeance, or, you know what I mean? So it's just exciting. It's just an experience, man, that I know it will, you know, nothing lasts forever, but I just wish it would last forever.
Well, I'm sure, you know, that's got to be just like a dream come true, and you're living it. And, you know, sounds like you were with the right bunch of guys when your medical emergency happened too, that people in your camp knew to get you help right away. So that's got to be something that you think about every day too.
Absolutely. And again, man, the whole thing that happened, it was one of the planets aligned type thing. You know, if something like that has to happen, the way that it happened, it couldn't have happened any better. I don't know how else to say that. You know, if it had, I was 3 miles away from one of the best heart hospitals in the country. You could see the festival site from the hospital.
Wow.
It was crazy the way it happened. So obviously you don't want stuff like that to happen, but if it does,
that's the way you want it.
You know what I mean? So it was one of the, as I said, one of those crazy moments where everything kind of aligned.
So what can fans expect on November 8th when they go to see a Judas Priest at the Tucson Arena? What can they expect? I'm sure a bunch of them. Phoenix is only 90 minutes away. They probably saw you guys up in Phoenix. You said there's going to be a little bit of a different set list. How long are you guys playing? Are you throwing in some different? It sounds like you are throwing in some different tunes from the first time you were through Arizona. Any teasing of stuff you want to throw out at us?
Well, you know, I can say it's around the 40th anniversary of Screaming for Vengeance, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sure the internet will say it's not the right month yet, or not the right week, or, you know, I'm a week late or whatever, but, you know, but yeah, so we're going to hit some moments from that record as like a tip of the cap to the album Screaming for Vengeance. I know some people like to wait and see what set list it's going to be. You know, I won't spoil anything, but we will reference Screaming for Vengeance on a few places. I have mentioned something in this interview already that I didn't mean to give away, but I think I have. So if you know, if you go back and listen, I have mentioned a couple of things.
Yes.
And there's a couple of things that I haven't played with the band. I've been with the band for almost 12 years now, and we're playing a couple of songs that I haven't played with the band yet, which is exciting. You know.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I'm just saying we're digging out a few which we haven't played for a while, and then, as I said, there's a few that I haven't played with the band. So it's just you know, it's a refreshing set list from our point of view as well, to be able to do some things that we haven't done, and then hopefully that kind of reflects with the fans as well to hear something new.
So how does a band like Judas Priest come? You know, you guys got such a deep catalog. How do you come up with a set list? You know, the old days, you know, I would figure that, you know, you scribble down some songs is what we're doing tonight, but, you know, with lighting, special effects, staging, and all that stuff, you obviously got to make sure that you have a set list that you can put stuff together along with the music, with all the effects and all that. How do you guys come up with a list?
Well, it can be difficult, but I mean, there's certain things we have to hit. There's a classic part of the set that we kind of have to, you know, acknowledge. You know, there's you know, things. Priest have had huge radio hits, Breaking the Law, Another Thing Coming, that kind of elements of the show that we have to kind of, you know, acknowledge. As I said, if there's any moments like anniversaries of albums, we could kind of hit those moments. If there's anything we haven't done for a while that might be interesting to do, we don't want to repeat too much from the last tour, or, you know, if there's a new album, we're going to hit a few from them. This being an anniversary tour, we've kind of got free reign. And sometimes what we do is literally, me and Rob will write down, we'll write down songs that we think would be interesting on paper, literally cut them out, lay them all out, on the table or whatever, and position them and like put them in a set list, like old school, remember that, like pen and paper on the table, and like you rearrange them. And we tried to get like a dynamic flow. So there's like a start, like a impact, and then it kind of, tapers a little bit, and then there's a little bit of an ebb and flow, so we try and create like a dynamic through the set, like I think the band have always done. But we literally do it with a pen and paper, cut them out into the little rectangles. It sounds a bit Spinal Tap, but
that's cool.
It works.
Yeah,
it works. We've been doing that for a little while, and then we kind of hone it as we go through. So we might have a starting point of 16 songs, and we rehearse it. And if it's something that doesn't feel right or it doesn't have that dynamic, we'll put another one in just to get that dynamic right. So, but yeah, that's kind of how we do it, kind of old school, and pen and paper, and bash it out.
A lot more work goes into these shows than I think most fans understand too.
Yeah, I mean, we did one in Berlin at the start of the European tour where we didn't have any production. It was a smaller club. I think it was about 1,500 people. No screens, no production at all. It was just the back line. It was the amplifiers, and the band and the songs and the audience, and that was it.
Wow.
And it was great. And we had no leather, we had no studs, we had no bike, we had nothing. It was the songs, the band, and the backline and the audience. And it was fantastic just to do, because Priest are known for their grandiose productions, but to do like a one-off show like that where it was just all stripped bare was a really great thing to do, and that was really interesting because it all came down to the songs and the magic of those songs. And that's what it's about at the end of the day.
Well, that's what the person hears in their headset, or driving in their car, or listening on their record player, CD player, or Spotify on the radio. That's what they hear. They don't see all the visuals in most cases. Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, it was those songs, and it was magical. We thought it was great. We had a great time, and hopefully the crowd did too. So maybe we'll do some stuff like that again in the future.
Hey, what's it like touring with Queensryche?
Oh, we love Queensryche. They're a good bunch of guys. It's kind of the same sort of era, as Priest, or like the 80s Queensryche that everyone knows. And they're doing new stuff as well. They're doing modern era, so they're not kind of stuck in the past. They've got the legacy catalog, if you want to call it that, and they're doing new music, forging forward with new music. The band's sounding great. And they were a good bunch of guys, great crew. So we had them out on the earlier run this year, and we thought, let's have them out again. They were great. Let's take them out again. It was a good show. People loved them. So we thought we'd take them out again.
Well, we're speaking with Richie Faulkner of Judas Priest. And Richie, you mentioned earlier, the band eventually will retire. Any plans of any new music prior to that, after this tour, working on a new album, anything like that? I think your last album was, what was that, 2018?
Yes, correct. Yeah, Firepower was 2018. We actually had most of the album, the new album. We're writing a new record. We recorded a lot of it. We had most of it kind of written in 2020. And then the lockdowns happened. So we had a bit of an obstacle recording it because of the lockdowns. We wanted to get together in the UK, record it together like we did with Firepower, but we couldn't do that because of the lockdowns. Now, when the lockdowns were lifted, we were able to tour. So because we were touring, now we couldn't record because we were touring. So, but we've been able to, work around the tour legs. We've done guitars, we've done, most of the guitars, we've done drums, we've done the bass, we've got vocals to do. So we're working around the tour. So we're getting it done. I've said this before as well, back in the day, you needed like a 30,000 square foot facility in the Bahamas, which would be nice. You know, it would,
Yeah.
you know, would be lovely, but you don't need that anymore. You know, you can do it. You know, I'm in a studio at the moment. It's probably about 200. I mean, it's a cupboard. You know what I mean? You can get so much done these days with the technology.
Yeah.
You know, you don't need all that stuff anymore. So we're able to do a lot more with the technology. So we've been working around the not the confines, but the obstacles of touring and stuff like that. So we're getting it done. I'm not sure when it will be ready and out and finished and everything like that, but we are, you know, getting through it and it's sounding great. I spoke to Andy Sneap the other day, the producer, and he had a listen through to it and on his system and, you know, what he's got. We haven't got any vocals finished at the moment, but he said it's sounding confident. He said he's really excited about it at this stage. And yeah, so we're getting there. So there will be new music from Priest.
I'm looking forward to hearing that. Richie, I know you got a busy schedule. I want to thank you so much for taking part of this interview. Looking forward to seeing the show November 8th at the Tucson Arena with Queensryche, the 50 Heavy Metal Years Tour. And this will be my second time seeing you with the band
Awesome.
down here in Tucson. Obviously, you've been in Phoenix a few times, my hometown, by the way. So I used to run into Rob all the time up in Phoenix. So,
oh, great.
So looking forward to it. And anything else you want to say to the fans to let them know about the show before we wrap it up?
Just looking forward to seeing you all there. We haven't been to Tucson in, I think you're right, I don't think it was since 2014, 15, maybe, since we were there. So it's been a few years. So we're looking forward to coming back to that part of the world and see you very soon for some Judas Priest style heavy metal.
Richie Faulkner of Judas Priest. Don't forget November 8th at the Tucson Arena. Get your tickets at klpx.com.